welcome to another edition of Whatcha Reading. I'm Miss Ashley.
I'm Miss Hana.
Miss Liz.
And Miss Melanie.
All right, let's get to it. We're going to talk about the books that we have been reading for this month.
And a new element. We are timing ourselves so that we cannot talk more than 3 minutes per book. So I'm setting the alarm.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll go first. All right. So this book, Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. This one I couldn't remember if I'd actually talked about it before because I've been talking to Hana about it, going, you need to read this book.
Yes.
Hurry and read this book
I read
before
it
I give you
also,
spoilers.
thanks to Ashley's recommendations.
It is so awesome. It's full of magic and adventure. It's a lot of fun. So it's about a girl named Amari who finds out there's a whole magical world, and she goes there to try to find her missing brother. He's been missing for a while now, and she's the only one who really believes he's still alive. And it's really cool because it takes her out of, I forgot where she was. It takes her out of the hood, basically.
I think they're in New Jersey. And yeah, her neighborhood is lower income, so she definitely feels like a fish out of water. She got a scholarship to this fancy prep school, and she feels like nobody likes her. She doesn't fit in.
And you know, she does get bullied a bit, and her brother Quentin's been missing for a long time. And I think it's really sad that people, that's what they choose to bully you about, the things you can't help when your brother's missing, and they think, oh, it's you know, drugs or it's something else.
Yeah,
and
so her brother I'm listening to this right now, so it's super fresh. So her brother has this mysterious job that he hasn't really given them any details on what it is, but he gives them money, so they believe him anyway because he's an honest person. And so once he goes missing, the police are like, well, you don't know anything about his job. How do you know he really even had a job? How do you know he wasn't just selling drugs or whatever? So that's what Ashley's talking about.
And she goes on her own investigation, and she discovers this whole magical world, and it's really awesome. It's really imaginative. And the guy who came up with it, B.B. Alston, he is on par with J.K. Rowling. This is my opinion, but I think so. I think this is the next generation's Harry Potter. I cannot wait for the next.
It's seriously book. So inventive, like
so good. So many twists, so many turns,
Yeah.
such a fast-paced read. It was awesome. And my favorite aspect of the whole thing, you know how J.K. Rowling has the moving pictures? This one has these elevators that have their own personality. So you got like a grumpy old man elevator,
so cool.
and you've got
Grumpy old man elevator.
fun mischief elevator. Like he's all mischievous, except for when there's an emergency, and then they shut down his mischievous chip, and he's just like, I have to be very boring. I'm sorry. It's really fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. So Amari gets, a year after her brother's been missing, she gets a message from him, and it's basically saying, go to this place, wear this outfit. So it's all very mysterious, and she gets there and she finds out she has to earn a place in the Bureau of Supernatural Investigations. Is that what it is?
Which made me think of the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah,
so
so
instead of
basically
going to Hogwarts, she's going to the Ministry of
world
Magic.
is like full of witches and yetis and every magical creature, everything is actually in existence, but humans don't know about it.
in this book.
And she wants to work for the investigative bureau and discover what happened to her brother. And her brother is like this hot shot, like yeah. So there's some things that I'm like, okay, here we are with another character who's like gonna save the world, the most important girl in the world, you know. But it was still worth it. It was really,
it was really
cool. Really good.
And it brings. I love that he also remembers to bring you back into the real world. So you go back home, and things are still happening at home. You know, they're wondering where is she, what's going on, and she goes back and forth. So you don't just leave and go to Hogwarts and everything's okay.
Right,
It's
yeah.
like,
There's
oh,
nothing
no,
happening
you
in
come back
life,
to the real world, so.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Her
I can't wait
power,
for the next
everybody
one.
that goes there gets a power, and hers is that she's a magician, which is illegal. So
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's the most powerful
I
magician
know, I'm
of her
trying not to
age.
give away too much, but there's so much to it.
I want to
It's
read
great.
it, like, really bad. I wanted to read it before everyone talked about it, and now I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to read it.
It's a juvenile fiction supernatural book. That's what it's labeled as. But all right, so I'm not going to talk about it since we already covered it pretty well.
All right.
I've got The Witch's Heart. Let me start my timer.
And don't talk after the timer, because that completely negates the timer.
I know, right? I'm sorry. That's why I rushed that in there.
I jumped in a lot on yours, sorry. Okay, so The Witch's Heart, a novel by Genevieve Gornichek. It's her first book.
It looks
It's
gorgeous.
I
Adult,
love the cover.
adult, regular fiction. So I loved this book. The main character's name is Angerboda. She's a witch. The book starts out when she's being burned at the stake.
Oh, wow.
Oh, in media race right there.
Yes. So basically what it is are Norse myths. This has got Odin, Loki, Thor, and she is Loki's wife, one of his wives. So it's her story. Very feminist take on all those horrible events that happened, if you know anything about that storyline from... If you've only watched, is it Marvel?
Yes.
Yeah, if you've only watched those, it doesn't compare. You have to read this. So,
Plus they twisted things
Yeah,
in
like-
the Marvel universe.
Right.
Like their sister, Hel
Read
is
the
one of
comic books.
Loki's daughters. It's not Loki's and Thor's sister. Like that's completely wrong.
right, Hel is Loki's daughter and her daughter. So she is burned at the stake by Odin because she can foretell the future and he wants to know, but she won't share it with him. So he burns her 3 times and puts a stake through her heart. Still doesn't kill her. She can't die, apparently. So she goes off into the woods and lives alone, and somebody mysterious comes and brings her heart. And he's like, I was going to eat it, but I decided to bring it to you. And it ends up being Loki. And the banter between them is so funny and good, because he's the god of mischief, right?
Yeah.
So love him as a character, of course. But you can't trust him. So eventually they fall in love. They have 3 monstrous babies. Hel is the daughter, and then they have Fenrir, who's a wolf.
Yes, I love
And then
Fenrir.
they have Jormungand, I think his name is. He is a snake. And
So no Sleipnir.
she ends up having this
Very good.
prophecy of her children at the end of the world, which is Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Yeah, Fenris.
And
brings along
she's
with
fighting against that. Like, how can I change the future? Because I don't want them to be in this battle against their father and whatever. So,
wanna read
meantime,
that
Odin's
right now.
hunting her down to try to do the same thing. He knows he's in the war too, and he wants to know what's going to happen. It's really good.
I want to read it
wanna
so
read
bad.
it
I
now.
love.
Yep.
That's going on my list.
The Witch's Heart.
My timer went
My
away.
husband just finished the
26
Gods
seconds, I
of
did it.
War and also the Assassin's Creed Valhalla video game, and it's all about like Norse mythology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's cool.
It tells the story, like the story really good. And now I'm like,
Yes.
give me that book.
Nobody's got it checked out, so one of you can take it.
Okay,
Sweet.
You can.
I want it.
You can.
I have way too many things.
I have
but
so
want
many
it.
things checked out right now.
I listened to it on Cloud Library. I don't think
Oh, okay.
anyone was there, and it was helpful to me as far as pronunciation because there's like no vowels in
True.
any of those words. I was like,
No.
what? Yeah,
All right.
it's good.
All right.
Yes, let me start your
Ready?
timer. You're up.
I am up.
How do I reset? You can start.
Okay, so this is definitely for older teens. It's a manga series that we have. It's called Wotakoi Love is Hard for an Otaku. We have volumes 1, 2, and 3, and it's written by Fujita. And so the main character is Narumi Momose, and she's had it rough. Every boyfriend she's ever had has dumped her. She's 25, 26,
Oh my
so
gosh.
she's our age. And so they dump her when they find out that she's an otaku. So she is completely obsessed with manga and anime and anything geeky, Comic-Con, you think it, she's there. And so she realizes that one of her coworkers, Hirotaka Nofuji, he is also an otaku. So they kind of get together. It's like, why don't we become boyfriend and girlfriend? Because I know you won't dump me. And so it's their relationship. He's antisocial, and she's, trying to keep it all like my nerdiness and everything is like under wraps. You can't tell. I'm the perfect, little airhead at work. Hi, it's great and grand. But things slip out, and then they have 2 best friends who are closet otakus as well, but not as intense as the rest of them. So it's all of them going back and forth. There's hilarious conversations like, yes, that would be me and Melanie, or it'd be me and a friend. Or I have had this like, oh, why are you crying? I'm reading my manga during lunch and my favorite character died. Like, why did you do this to me?
It's actually happened before.
But this is definitely for older teens just because there's smoking, drinking, and other things that are mentioned or hinted at. But it is absolutely hilarious. I have volumes 2 and 3 checked out right now, and they are in my living room. But it's hilarious, and I highly recommend it. But definitely, I would say probably 17, 18 on up, just because there is some adult matter in there. There's nothing graphic, but just to be safe.
I think it's an anime too.
I think
really?
so too. It
I
just
stumbled
came
on it
out.
one day and I
So
was like, oh, I love this.
I really want to watch it. And in the first bit, because this is like 2 or 3 volumes in one, you have the colored
cool.
pages. But it is super cute. And if you don't understand some of the things that they're mentioning, they have little hints at the back like, oh, they were talking about this and it's referring to this in anime or this in manga.
I like that.
Or they're talking about, there's a special name for like your favorite character and who you ship, and it's an unattainable character, and then they die. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh.
oh,
I love
I think it's called a waifu, W-A-I-F-U. It's like the person that you're like, you worship, and it's like greatest character ever. But you don't tell anyone who your favorite character is. I don't know. It's like I'm not that big of an otaku. I'm just like I have hints of it, but it is cute, and it says in love there are no save points. So part of it with their discussions, it's like, oh, she is making this move. Oh, her runaway has been blocked. What is going to be your response? Flight, runaway, scream. So it's really cute.
Oh, it sounds really cute.
Perfect timing. Wow.
good.
Okay.
I'm awesome.
We should see if we own the anime.
We should, yeah.
I will make
See
a
if we
note
can
of
order it.
this.
Yeah.
It's really cute. I think I only saw a couple of like the fight scenes where they're arguing, and I was like, I love this. I'm putting this on my list and coming back.
Oh, and it's perfect because it's also our age. So
Yeah.
25, 26, early 20s, mid 20s.
My turn. I'm so excited.
Close to 40.
It's cool.
Okay, you're up.
I'm so excited because I love these books, but I'm going to talk about one at a time. Okay, I'm going to talk about this one. Okay, so this is called A Cuban Girl's Guide to Tea and Tomorrow by Laura Taylor Namey. And it's one of Reese Witherspoon's YA book club books.
Ooh.
I love this book so much. I was listening to the audiobook and reading at the same time. So it's about this girl named Lila Reyes, and she lives in Miami. And she has like the trifecta of bad things happen to her at the beginning of the book. So her grandma dies, and her abuela like has taught her everything she knows. She owns a bakery, so she's really good at baking. And her boyfriend Andres dumps her, and they graduate, and her best friend decides to go on a missions trip to Africa instead of going to school with her. So she's like, all of her closest people are gone. And so she goes for this run because she loves running, and she accidentally runs for like 20 miles and then like passes out. And her sister finds
How
her.
does she accidentally run for 20
'Cause
miles?
she's like, I don't know, I can't even run for like 2 miles.
I know.
so,
it's-
like,
Sorry.
but she accidentally like runs so far she gets dehydrated, passes out, and her sister finds her, and her parents are like, no, we're sending you to Westminster, England, to go with your cousin, Katerina, Kat, she goes by Kat. So she goes to England. So it's really cool because the narrator did so good at reading it because it's half Cuban accent, half Westminster, England accent. So she goes to stay at her aunt's inn that she owns, the Owl and Crow. And the baker goes on vacation, so she takes over baking. So she meets this boy named Orion, and he owns a tea company.
I like that.
I know. So he's like perfect book boyfriend. He's wonderful. I love him. But he owns a tea store with his dad. So he delivers the tea to the inn. So she decides to. She's eating all of this English food, and she's like, "It's boring. It's nothing like my Cuban food. I need to infuse Cuban flavors into this like scones. Like she makes guava scones and like all these things. Like
Wow.
she makes like fig pastelones and all of these different things like to incorporate both worlds. And she makes a bunch of friends with Orion's friends. And there's like subplots, like someone is going around tagging buildings in Westminster. And so they think it's like this rival band group because Orion's best friend Jules is in a band and the other band wants her to be their lead singer. So like there's like all these side things happening. And she's dealing with grief from her grandmother dying and dealing with people growing up and apart. Like her best friend she's been friends with forever is now in Africa without her, and like they had this big fight. Okay. So like it deals with like grief and moving on and growing up, and it is so good. I loved it so much. So everyone read it.
And it's
Okay.
a Cuban girl's
It's
guide
a Cuban
to
girl's guide to tea
tomorrow.
and tomorrow.
I just
I'm
put
going to
it
take
on my
pictures
list.
of all y'all's
It's
books.
so cute. Okay.
All right.
Proud.
All right,
My
I don't know how I can
schedule's
keep
wanting
this
to-
at 3 minutes. I'm going to do my best.
Okay.
I loved this book, Song of the Crimson Flower by Julie C. Dow. I don't know if she's written any more, but I'm going to check and I'm going to read them all because this was awesome. This was a great Asian fantasy. You know, I have my niche. I love my Asian fantasies. And this one was awesome. I know I just talked about the smoke rising in the sun and something about a flame in the mist and whatnot. But I love those.
Yeah, you were like, this is my favorite book so far this year.
No, this one kicks their butts. It was so very good. Okay, so it starts off with this guy. He's about 19, I think, and he is an apprentice to a physician, Bao. His name is Bao. And he's in love with Lan. And Lan is a rich, they always have to be rich people, but Bao is actually an orphan. And he was brought in to the physician's home because he showed promise. He's very smart and he's very driven, and you know, the other guy, the son is not. So the father showers his praise on him. And of course the mother's like, well, you're never going to take my son's place and everything. So he's dealing with that, and he's in love with Lan. And in a fit of embarrassed fury, Lan spurs him, and she's really mean to him. So he takes off, and he's just like, I'm going to go find the river witch, and I'm going to make me forget everything, and I'm going to have a whole new life. Well, he finds the river witch, and the river witch curses him.
Of course.
And there's a whole story behind that, too. I don't want to give too much away, but she curses him, and the only one who could break the curse is someone who loves him. He can love that person, but if that person doesn't love him back, oh well. So he finds out he's not actually an orphan. His mom's still alive. So he goes on this journey, and Lan goes with him because they're still best friends, and she feels bad, and she wants to protect him because the curse is he'll become one with his most important possession, his most prized possession, and that's his flute. He's always had a flute since he was 3 years old. It's always been with him. And he ends up being like sucked into the flute.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Lan is the only one who can get him out because he loves her. But she can't break the spell because she doesn't love him. And they go on this grand journey, and there's so much going on. There's a war brewing, and there's this evil drug that's just ravishing just completely killing the country.
I'm guessing
Ravaging.
it's opium because there's poppies on the front.
That's right. They
Aha.
call it black spice. But yes, they never say the words opium or anything like that. But it's black spice, and it's really cool because they
made from the
somehow
poppy seeds.
make bombs out of it. So if they throw the bombs and everything, and it's filled with the black spice, people start seeing illusions
like
and
Wizard of
stuff
Oz,
like that.
kind of.
And it's so cool. And then you come in and you just kill them all, and it's really great. And it's really dark. There's a subtle magic to it. I like it because they don't throw creatures at you, and it's not like obvious magic. It's all more in your mind, and it's really great. And a lot of that has to do with the black spice. There's like these 3 different kingdoms, and the war is great. And this book isn't very big, but
No.
there's a lot packed into it, and it has an end. There you go.
Perfect. It has an end.
Well done.
I cannot wait to read the rest of her books, though.
That's
I hope she
awesome.
has more books.
Yay. Okay. So
I've
next up,
seen that one. That one is such a cute cover.
Heartstopper. So this is a 2-volume graphic novel series. I think a 3rd one is coming out. So it's about these 2 boys. It's super fluffy and cute. It's just a romance, but if you just need a quick pick-me-up, they're so cute. They're so cute. So in the first one, Charlie is the dark-haired boy, and he's gay. He's in high school. He's being bullied a little bit, but he's getting by fine. And then Nick is this muffin right here. He's a rugby player, and he's just super nice guy. And so they just sort of meet accidentally, have a little meet cute, and
I love meet
become
cute.
friends. And Charlie thinks he's super cute, but Nick is straight, so that's not going anywhere. They're just becoming friends. But then they end up needing someone on the rugby team, and so he's like, "Oh, how about my friend Charlie?" And everyone else is like, "Okay, he can't play. He's like a little green bean, you know, he's like a little stick person." So, but he joins the team. It's great, and they just get closer and closer. And then finally, Charlie confesses that he wants to kiss Nick, and Nick's like, "Let's try it." And so, okay, so that's where book 1 ends. And then in book 2, he's grappling with the idea that maybe he's bisexual and sort of exploring his gender identity, and then deciding, should I come out, shouldn't I? And it's just really cute. They're so sweet to each other.
That's so cute.
Yeah,
see
there's
the
no
fluff.
moments when you get mad at one of the characters or anything. There's none of that. So, I love it.
Oh.
It looks so fluffy.
That's
I
it.
want to read it.
Yeah, I mean, I read it in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a quick one. I'm still going, yes.
Firefly.
Yep.
Okay.
Go.
Good. All right. So this monstrosity of a book isn't as big as it looks. Kind of. It's called Amber and Clay by Laura Amy Schlitz, and she was a Newbery Medal winner. And what's interesting about this is it's told in both prose and verse.
I love those.
And what is also interesting about it is Amber and Clay is alluding to the two primary characters in this. So there's Raskos, who is a Thracian slave boy. And so it's him growing up, how he's treated. And this is in ancient Greece. So it's looking at slave society during that time. So he is the clay because he goes on to work with pottery. Amber is alluding to Mellisto, who is a daughter of an aristocratic family. So how she's being raised, but there's no, the grass is greener on the other side. She has issues too. Her mother is an absolute witch, and there's a whole lot of complications. So you're getting prose from her, prose from her, verse from Raskos. But in between the different parts of their stories in this, you have interjections by Greek gods. So there's Hermes, there's Artemis, there's Hephaestus, and Athena. And so it's how the gods are meddling with their lives. And oh, you think he's having such a hard life, but I am molding him. This is coming from Hephaestus. I have plans for him. And when Raskos ends up going to Hephaestus' temple later on, Hermes is like, I'm not worried about it. I'm the god of tricksters and and everything. It's and thieves. He's going to come back to me. That's fine. It's just an interlude. But again, it's a look at slavery during that time and different aspects of the Greek community. You get to meet Socrates, and it's a very interesting is not the right word. An unusual read. It's not lighthearted. It has darkness. It's just a conglomeration of everything. So it took me a week to get through this one,
Which is actually a long time for her.
which is a long time for me. But between different ones, you have exhibits. And so it shows pottery. So one, it's, Raskos was actually working on this. Or they're talking about when they were in the Praetorium and they were the upper class were exercising. It was the guys. When they were finished, they'd have this tool that they would scrape the salt and sweat off their bodies, and then the slaves would oil them up with olive oil. And so it shows a description of the tool, like a picture of it, and then what it was used for. So cool. It's an inner look at ancient Greek life. So that was really, really cool, and how important the gods and goddesses were to their entire culture and life.
I'd say Greek mythology is probably like my favorite theme. Like I am like obsessed with the Trojan War. So like the lovely war book that I talked about for our very first one where I had the Greek gods and goddesses like interspersed in there. I love it. It's like fuel. So not talking about Greek gods and goddesses at all. This is a book called Super Adjacent by Crystal Castari, and it is so cute. So it is about, it goes back and forth between Bridget and Claire. And Claire is, so there's superheroes, there's 4 superheroes, and they make up what's called Warrior Nation. So Claire is like the ultimate war nat, which is like their fangirl. And she's always been obsessed with the warriors, and they change them out. Like there's a lot of people in this society that have superpowers, but there's only 4 representatives at a time in different cities. So they're in Chicago, and she's obsessed with Blue Streak. Because she was saved by a hero in the past. So like she's obsessed with Blue Streak, and she wants the internship for the summer internship to work with them. But in order to work with them, you have to find one of their secret entrances. So she goes to this place where she thinks is an entrance, and she meets this girl named Joy who lets her in. And it turns out that Joy is the newest member of Warrior Nation, and she's actually replacing Blue Streak, who's like Claire's like idol. So she's like, no, you can't leave. So it goes back and forth between them, and they start like a budding romance, and they're lesbians, so there's them. And then there's Bridget, who has been dating Matt, who's known as Vaporizer, and he has been in the Warrior Nation for 4 years. They've been dating for since before he got in the group, and she's like so tired of being kidnapped because they always like attack the significant
It's
others.
like Daphne from Scooby-Doo. It's always her.
So she gets kidnapped, and like they both get kidnapped in one scene, and Claire's like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, and Bridget's like, just sit still, they'll be here soon. Like, she's so over it. And so she's like, I need to break up with him. Like, my whole life has been like, nothing ever can happen just for me, because when he comes to support me, everyone wants his autograph. So she's kind of burned out on the whole thing, and Claire's like super excited about it. And it's like an inside look at dating a superhero, which is kind of like a celebrity, like in our world. But there's this whole villain organization going on called the Siege. Yeah, the Siege. So like all these villains are like starting to attack them, and all of the 4 superheroes get kidnapped. And it's up to Claire and Bridget to like figure out what's going on and help them. So it's like they're dating superheroes, they're annoyed because the superheroes always get all of like the publicity, they get kidnapped, and then they're like, oh my gosh, now we have to help them because they're kidnapped.
It sounds
It is so cute. It was light and fluffy and a little dark. Like, there was a lot of twists in here where I was like, what? Who? So yeah, I liked it a lot.
It looks
very cute.
Super, super cute.
It kind of reminds me of Marissa Mayer's Renegades.
Yes, and also the Chosen Ones. Veronica Roth, who wrote Divergent, she wrote her first adult novel called Chosen Ones, and it's about superheroes.
Oh,
so
awesome.
yeah, so that one's really good. I have it checked out.
All right. So we talked about something last time that made me think of Full Metal Alchemist. I don't remember what it was, though. I'm sorry.
I remember you mentioning Full Metal Alchemist when you were talking about something. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah,
I've watched a couple episodes of the anime, but I've never read
love
it.
Full Metal Alchemist.
I love it too,
I love it
and
so
it made
much.
me want to.
About
Yes,
the Alchemist?
Yes.
it was the
yes.
Alchemist with Andrea. So I went back and I read it because I love it, and I actually downloaded the entire manga. It's on one of my old hard drives, and I just went back and I found it, and I sat up and I read it. I read the whole thing.
I love the show.
So I love it. There's 2 animes. I know a lot of people know about the first anime. It's
Brotherhood.
good. It's good. It's not right. It's not right at all.
yes, Brotherhood is. I think Brotherhood's the one that's not right. There's like
No,
one.
Brotherhood's the one that's right. That's the one that follows the
Because
manga.
there's one where
Yes.
like they made it for kids and they took a bunch of things out,
Yes.
and then
they changed everything
changed
about the
so
homunculus.
much. Yes.
Yes. It was.
Sorry.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're right. I know they did a live action not too long ago. They did a live
the
action
live
film.
action was awful.
Really? I
The
haven't
first
seen it yet.
Rurouni
I'm worried.
Kenshin was okay, but that's a
Rurouni
that's a
Kenshin
different
was
one.
great. I
It was
loved
so
it.
good.
Kenshin is
I've
good,
not
yeah.
watched part 2 yet, though.
So I don't know. Do they give you a
way
little
above my
thing?
head.
Okay. So,
Otakus!
What are these words you guys are saying?
all right. So alchemy is the mystical power to alter the natural world, something between magic, art, and science. And these 2 brothers are alchemists. And Edward is actually. They're both. What's the word when you're really young and you're really smart?
Prodigies.
Prodigies. Thank you. They're both prodigies, and they're actually the son of the greatest alchemist. And life happens, things go wrong, and these guys, these 2 boys, their whole lives change when on the night that they try to bring their mother back from the dead, they tamper with things they shouldn't have tampered with. You can't play God. So the thing about alchemy is you cannot create something out of nothing. You have to sacrifice something of the same value. And they didn't know that. They were trying to bring back their mother. They were trying to build a human body and put a soul in it.
They were like 5. I think the
Yes.
younger one was
Yeah,
like
5
when-
and like 7 or something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So they were like
Yeah.
way too young to understand what's
Edward's
happening.
the older one, but he's really short. And
Yes.
he's always like, stop calling me short. And then
The entire
Alphonse,
time.
The
he's
entire time, the whole thing.
teased.
I love it. I love the anime so much. Because Vic Mignogna is the voice actor, and he's my favorite. I think he's my all-time favorite voice actor. Anyway, Alphonse ends up getting his whole body taken away to the other side, and his brother attaches his soul to a suit of armor. So he's just a suit of armor with glowing eyes. And then if you take the head off, there's nothing in there. And then Alphonse becomes the Full Metal Alchemist, and he's got an automail arm and an automail leg.
No, Edward becomes the Full Metal Alchemist. And it's funny in the whole thing because Alphonse is a suit of armor, and they're like, oh, he must be the Full Metal Alchemist. And then he talks and he's like, no, it's my brother. Like he has the tiniest little
Yes,
kid voice.
it's so cute voice.
And the tiny short brother's like, I'm the full metal alchemist, be nice to me. And it's so great.
The chibi versions are hilarious.
I love it.
But
Yes.
just really quickly, it's really funny, yes, but it also can get dark, and
Yes.
the
It can
adventure's
get dark.
great. There's war, there's famine, there's everything you could think of, and then there's the homunculus, which are these creatures. You just got to read it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a full fun cast of characters.
I love it.
That's
Whole
great.
fun. I love
I wanna pick it
Armstrong. I love Armstrong. He's so
I
great.
love it so much.
Edward, I'm here to help.
And he's always like posing like, I'm here to help you. It's so great. I love it so much.
And there's the guy with the fire, with the gloves.
Yes. Okay, sorry.
Oh man, I feel so behind. I need to
Mustang,
pick
yes.
that one up.
Mustang, thank you. I'm like, I know he just snaps and there's flame.
Okay.
And I even love the homunculus too. I love Greed, the original Greed.
Yes. They're so good.
Okay.
Your time is so up.
I know. I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
So I didn't have a copy to bring with me, but I read Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. It's another adult fiction one that I think teens would like. So it's about a Colombian family that moves to Houston, Texas, and other places in the U.S., and they're illegal. So it's kind of their story of the mom and dad trying to get work any way they can. They're trying to send money back to the mother-in-law back in Colombia, and they have 3 kids while they're in the U.S. And then right after she has the 3rd baby, the husband is deported. Wow. So he falls asleep in the car. He's so tired from working, and police stop, and he's illegal, so he gets sent back. And they make this really painful decision to send the baby back with him because with they're separated, she doesn't think she's going to be able to earn enough to take care of all 3 kids on her own. And so the baby goes back with her dad to Colombia, and so then it becomes her story, and you're following along. Talia is her name. In the beginning of the book, she's already 15, I think, and she's in a school. She's gotten herself in trouble, just kind of random, like she was at a restaurant, and she saw someone kill a cat, and she got so angry about it that she like attacked that person and injured him really badly. So she got sent to like this boarding school that's disciplinary, and there's nuns, and she decides she's going to escape and go to her mom because she's a U.S. citizen. She was born in the U.S., so she wants to go back and live with her mom, and she escapes by like tying up the nun, and
Oh gosh.
yeah, so she's in legal
bad
trouble
girl.
anyway, even though you're rooting for her, but you're just like, what are you doing? So it's her story. She's run away from school, and she's trying to get back to her dad's house, and you're kind of jumping back and forth in time between the parents in the U.S. and her getting back home, and so many unhappy things happen. It's not a happy story, really. Like racism, the poor family are hiding from the law and doing the best they can to earn money, but so many bad things happen to them, and you're just like, why? So I think it's really timely with the immigration issues that we're seeing right now, and she does end up making it back to her mom in the end of the book, but it takes turns switching. The narrator switches to all the family members, so you can kind of see like her brother and sister back in the States don't even really know her, and they're not happy even though they're where she's trying to get to. You know, they have their own issues with racism and stuff at school. So anyway, it's a good book though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the writing was really good, and it's really short. So quick read.
What was it called again?
Infinite Country.
Yeah.
Infinite Country.
It's that really pretty one with like the snake on
Yep,
the
it has
cover
a
and
snake
like all the
going.
different lines. It's so pretty. I love
Yeah.
that cover.
I made it. 7 seconds to spare.
All right. I'm going to talk about 2 in 3 minutes.
You got this. I'm going to do the same
this.
thing in a minute. So
And then
It's
I
a
have
fun
2 more.
challenge, isn't
yeah.
it? How much can you fit in 3 minutes? Go. Go.
Okay, so this is called The House of 5 Leaves by Natsume Ono. We have volumes 1 to 7 or 1 to 8. And
Yeah.
the artwork is very, very interesting. So you're following Akitsu Masanosuke, who is a samurai, a swordsman for hire. But no one wants to hire him because he's so meek. He has the sword skills. He's amazing. But he walks with his shoulders hunched. He's very soft-spoken. So everyone's like, you're a wimp. You're not impressive. You're not intimidating. Why would we hire you? Then a mysterious man shows up and was like, hi, I would like to hire you as a bodyguard. And so he's getting sucked into this organization that he's unsure about. I don't know if I want to join. And they're like, you're going to join. He's talked to you. He knows that this is the main reason why he's talked to you. You're going to become a part of us. They are called the Five Leaves. There's 4 of them. With him, it'll be the 5th. So they run a kidnapping scheme. So it's like I would kidnap Ashley, and then I would give Hana a ransom note with a momiji leaf that has the 5 leaves, and be like, you owe me money. Once the ransom is paid, Ashley will be returned to you unharmed. They're put to sleep, and then they're delivered, and it's done. So everyone's doing it for a different reason. So in the first book, you have no idea what is going on, who these characters are. You have so many questions, like, okay, now I have to get volume 2, because what? But at the end of volume 1, he becomes the guardsman, or like a bouncer for a brothel. And he's like, this is making me very, very uncomfortable. Like, I'm not okay with this. Because, he's a noble samurai. The other one is Taproot, and it's about this guy who can see ghosts. And so he's talked to them ever since he was little. He doesn't see anything wrong with it, but all his friends that are ghosts, they're being sucked into this area that's very, very dark and creepy and scary, and there's this character. And it turns out that he is a necromancer without even knowing it. He's like, I've just talked to ghosts since I was little. So Death is like, well, here's your necromancer card. Because, it's illegal for you to do. He's like, I'm not even doing anything. What's going on? So they're freeing his friends and doing different things and discovering, who the darkness was. And then it's LGBTQ gay romance, and it's super, super soft and fluffy. And the ghost that's crushing on him, something happens, and there's other things that happen because I don't want to give it away.
At the pictures, like, I'm just learning way too much right now.
And it's beautiful artwork.
Is it Katie O'Neill?
What's that?
Is it Katie O'Neill? It
No,
looks like
but that's
her.
why I chose it. It's by Keezy Young. It's called Taproot, a story about a gardener and a ghost. But it reminds me of the artistry style of Katie O'Neill. But they exorcise ghosts, and the artwork is super, super cute.
Is he like a Shinigami? Or is he more of, like he can control them? Does he help them pass on, or does he control them?
So he just talks to them before, and they can, knock over a pot, and he's like, April, now I have to clean that up. And then it's an old Japanese guy who runs it, and he's like, you're doing this thing, and then he's like, sorry, I will clean it up, it's fine, because the plant shop might be passed on to him. But it's super cute and fluffy, and the first part you're like, what? And the necromancy thing just threw me for a loop, because usually it's like, you're raising things from the dead. You think, oh, just talking to ghosts, that wouldn't be a bad thing. So, but it's cute.
Is it a standalone?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yep, because of the ending and the kind of the epilogue thing. Yep.
Okay.
Ha. So 2 and kind of like 3.5 minutes.
Okay. So this is called The 7th Raven. It's by David Elliott, and I actually talked about another book by him before called Voices, which was the last days of Joan of Arc. I think I talked about that like our second one.
Oh, that sounds
this is his new one. It's based on The Seven Swans, so it's a retelling of the old fairy tale, Irish fairy tale. So it's about this family, and I love the way it's written. That's like my favorite thing about it. If I can find, like there's a hole in the lake in the bottom of the log, or a hole in the log in the bottom of the lake. It's very much like this. Like it goes, and here are the boys who live in the cottage. The eldest is Jack, and the next one is Jack, and the third one's called Jack, and the fourth's known as Jack, and the fifth says he's Jack, and they call the sixth Jack, and the seventh not Jack. The seventh is Robin, and this is his story. So Robin has 6 siblings that are all named Jack, and the dad's name is Jack. They're like this really like poor family, farming family. They're just like, oh, we have a baby? It's a boy, his name is Jack. But then they have Robin, and he's like, no, this one doesn't feel like a Jack. This one's different. So,
Can you imagine?
I can't even imagine.
It's so
it's
weird,
like
and you're
Jack 1, Jack 3, go sit down.
Jack 4?
But like they're so, I mean, they're not simple, but like they're so simple that it's okay with them.
This is true, but I think I heard that George Foreman did that with his kids. He had a whole bunch of kids, and they're all named George.
I would not be surprised.
I'm gonna look that up.
I'm gonna
You
look
keep
that
talking.
up.
George Andrew, George William, George Thaddeus.
George Thaddeus.
So that just came out, sorry.
The dad and the mom really want a daughter. They're like, we have these 7 kids They're all boring except for this one weirdo. This one weirdo who they named Robin, who they don't treat him right because they're like, he's not a Jack. Like, he's not one of us. He's different.
Aw.
So the mom gets pregnant with a girl, and she's born really sickly. And the dad's like, well, I hate this. I would trade all of my kids for this girl. So he accidentally makes this curse happen, and all of the sons turn into ravens. And the daughter is born healthy. So they're all ravens, and all of the Jacks hate being ravens, but Robin loves it. He's like, this is what I was meant to do. These are my wings. And so the sister grows up, and she
I love
goes.
this twist.
It's so good. So the sister grows up, and she finally discovers that she has these brothers, and she blames herself for them being ravens. She's like, it's my fault. If I wasn't born, none of this would happen, so I need to go and rescue them. So she goes on this journey, and she meets like this crone and this king, and they're such pretty illustrations. Like, they're like sketched almost. They're so pretty. So there's pictures throughout, and it goes back and forth between everyone's different perspectives. And one of my favorite things about it is the language. Sorry. The words are so, like, they're such big SAT words. Like, as the story goes on, there's like, I had to look up a couple words.
Wow.
Oh, I
And
love
it's
those.
so pretty. It's written so nice. Like, hope is a journey into the night, no guiding star, no comforting light, and hope is a paradox, cousin to dread, and hope is cool water, a hope is warm bread. Hope is a burden, unwieldy its load, and hope is a stranger she meets on the road. So, like, the whole thing, it's so beautifully written, and like, it's perfect rhyming throughout the entire thing. Like, I love it. I love it.
A whole book like
I
that.
know.
love that.
I don't
and
think
it's-
I've ever read a
At
whole
first,
book that
I
rhymes.
was like, this is annoying.
Yeah.
Like, it all rhymes. This is annoying. And then
know,
I
it's
was
like
reading
a
it, and I was like
poem.
reading it faster and faster. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. I love it. So I made my husband read it. He like read it in like 10
Did he
minutes.
like
He was like, he got like halfway through. He's like, this is annoying. I was like, keep reading it. And then he's like, wow, that's actually really good. So I love it.
All right, cool.
Seventh Raven.
All right, so
Yeah.
just to interject about George Foreman again, he has 12 children.
Oh my gosh.
He has 5 sons named George.
Oh my gosh.
Why?
George,
If you're gonna go with 5, you might
Thanks.
as well George.
George
right?
Jr., George the 3rd, George the 4th, George the 5th,
Isn't that usually
George
like-
the 6th.
Isn't that like normal, multiple generations, not just like all one?
Yeah, I think normally. So it says on his website, I named all my sons George Edward Foreman, so they would always have something in common. I say to them, if one of us goes up, then we all go up together, and if one of us goes down, we all go down together. As with his father, George III has pursued a career in boxing. And then he has a bunch of daughters. They all have their own name, one named Georgetta.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I feel like they already have things in
Georgia.
common,
Right?
considering that they're siblings.
There's
but
a few
anyway.
things in
But yeah,
common.
if they went to the same school, and it's like, you know, when they call over the intercom, oh well, you know, will Elizabeth Lee please come to the office?
Which
if
one?
there were like
Which one?
7 of them, it's like, oh yeah, can George Foreman, and then all the kids show up.
Oh, that's funny. Anyway, okay, you're up.
All right, my last one is Fruits Basket because season 3 is coming in 2 days. 2
So excited.
days. I'm so
I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
I know they got
Funimation,
it.
you're awesome.
Yeah, I got you, Hana.
Explain us.
It is awesome. Okay, so
I've read all of them.
the Soma family has a curse. There's this do you know the story of the Zodiac with the god, and he calls all of the animals to his banquet, and they have to go on a great big race to see who can get there first. And the rat tricks the animals, and he rides on the cow. He tricks the cat, tells him, oh, the banquet's tomorrow. So the cat misses it altogether. And then he gets ahead of everybody. He rides on the cow, and he's the first one there. So he is
It's the order of when the different animals are
Okay.
celebrated for the Chinese zodiac.
So it's beautiful. It's an awesome story. And then the Soma family, they actually are cursed, and they turn into these animals.
Okay.
So if the opposite sex hugs them or touches them, poof, they turn into
That's
the
unfortunate.
animals. Well, that's what they do in the anime. They go poof.
Yeah,
is so
there's a
funny.
poof of smoke, and then there's the animal, and then there's a
awesome.
poof of smoke when they go back, but
They're naked.
they need clothes.
That's great.
So there's
I
lots
love
of
it.
awkward moments of, oh, here's a jacket.
And Toby was like crawling up the wall.
So wait,
I'm so sorry.
they change back and forth?
Yes, they do. Because anytime they bump into the opposite sex, doesn't matter where they are. They can be at the grocery store.
So, you
That
know,
is so-
boyfriend, girlfriends are difficult because, you know, you can't hug. The only exception is if someone in the same family.
family.
So when Kagura, who is the boar incarnate, hugs Kyo, who's the cat, there's no poofing because
Okay.
they are the same family.
Okay.
And that's why she chases him all the time, and he's like, "Go away!" And it's great. But there's all kinds of drama going on. And there's this one girl, a high school girl named Toru, who ends up,
She's so sweet.
her mother died, and she ended up having to live in a tent outside. And she ends up living on Soma land, and she meets the characters, and she ends up living with them because her tent gets buried under the earth and everything, and she becomes kind of like their live-in maid. And it's so cute. The whole story is really cute, and then it gets really dark. Really dark, right?
And it gets dark quickly.
Yes, and that's why I'm ready for season 3, because that's when it gets dark. So anyway, there's a first anime.
No, yeah.
They did an anime first, before the manga was even finished. And they changed so much, and they left so much out.
And they stopped halfway through. And there was a petition, which we both signed
Yes,
in
we
high
did.
school, asking for them to finish it, and they finally
And they
did.
finally did, and they redid it, and it's even better. But I still like the first one. I own the first one, and every once in a while, to put my daughter to sleep, I always play the opening sequence over and over again because it puts me to sleep. It's so awesome. Okay, and it's really great. So
All right.
definitely read it.
So
Fruit
it's season
Basket.
3 of the anime that you're excited about?
Yes.
Okay.
And the
They have
author
season 1
is,
on Hulu.
The author is Natsuki Takaya. Okay, done. Sorry.
Cool. I do not have any more to talk about.
All right,
Okay.
I'm going to try and do 2 and 3 minutes again. So this one I actually own, but this is our library copy. This is called Delilah, Dirk, and the Turkish Lieutenant by Tony Cliff. And he's done lots of other things, and he has a new picture book called Let's Get Sleepy. That's adorable, and you have to find
I
a certain
love
cat.
that one.
Yes, so you're trying to find the mouse with all the cats.
I
yes.
love that one.
Same
I didn't
artist.
know that.
Mhm. So you have Delilah Dirk, who you find out is captured in this Turkish city. And then there's a lieutenant who doesn't quite fit in. He's very verbose, and he's obsessed with tea, and everyone loves his tea because it tastes great. Well, they end up crossing paths, and he's the one that interviews her, like, you're a female traveling alone. Why? And it's like, oh, well, I can do this, and I've done this, and she's been raised all over the world, and she knows martial arts and sword fighting. She's like an Victorian age Indiana Jones, but a woman. And so through a strange certain type of events, he helps her escape, and so she invites him to, travel along with me. So there's explosions and gunfights and beautiful illustrations and storyline, and there are 3 books. We have 2 in the system. I highly recommend it. It's fun. So you have Delilah Dirk, and you have Edemoglu Salim.
Edemoglu?
Erdemoglu. Erdemoglu. So she's been all over the globe. Now, for the first time in her life, she has a friend to share in her adventures. Salim is a Turkish soldier with a peaceful nature and passion for excellent tea. He'd better get used to his new lifestyle fast, because there's never a dull moment when Delilah Dirk is involved, which is
Cool.
true. It's very
Sounds like
pretty.
fun.
This other one it's one story, but each chapter is a different point of view. So there's this teenager who's driving home. He's missing curfew. He's going to get yelled at by his mom. He's ignoring his phone. It's a rainy night. He's driving really, really fast.
Uh-oh.
And there's a girl who's soaked. And so he stops, and she's carrying her shoes, and, where do you live? And takes her. And he feels really bad when he drops her off, and then finds, she left her shoes in the car. So he goes to the house with the shoes and is like, pardon me, ma'am, your daughter left the shoes. And she's like, she's been dead
Oh
for
my
so
gosh,
many
it's
years.
like Supernatural.
Every year she does the same thing. On this night, she stops someone on the road, and then so
The lady in white.
That's
so
scary.
he's like, go take,
love it.
I'm done with it. I'm tired of this repeating year after year. So he ends up going to the graveyard, and he sees all these pairs of shoes that are in different types of decay. And then all of these ghosts come, and they want their stories heard. So this is from the 1800s all the way up to modern day time, because this graveyard is only for teenagers who have died. And so each ghost is coming forward and telling their story. There's a twist on the yellow wallpaper, where it's a boy who has these different moments, and then the wallpaper is moving. What was the other one that I told you? It was
The monkey's paw.
and then the monkey's paw. And so I had goosebumps throughout this entire thing. And he's like, okay, I've heard your stories. Why? It's It's because you would have died because he was driving too fast on a wet road and he wouldn't have noticed that the bridge had gone out.
I just got goosebumps. Give me the book. Give me the
And
book.
then he would have died. So then he, after all this happens, because it's gone now, he gets back into his car and he slowly drives home. But I mean, you have in all the stories, all these kids are from Chicago. So from, again, like the 1860s, 1870s, all the way up to the 2000s. And so you're getting different, the dialects and the words and how we speak from, again, the 1800s and up, and all different professions. And some people were crazy, some people were murdered, some people died on accident. But it's called, I didn't even tell you the title of the book, I'm sorry. On the Day I Died, Stories from the Grave by Candace Fleming. I read this in one night, and it was really good. And Melanie wants to read it.
I want it
so
right now. We can trade, because I saw you looking at this one, so we'll trade.
Candace Fleming?
Yeah.
I read a couple of her picture books. The one
Okay.
that she won the Caldecott Medal for was Oh No, when all the animals fall into the hole.
Yes, I
Cute.
ordered that
Love
one
that
for the summer. So that's a fun picture book.
Okay.
It's one of Mercy's favorites, over and over all day.
But yeah, that's
have
a
it real
goosebump
quick.
one. He's like, can I stop? Can I stop? And they're like, no, all of our stories need to be heard. And then since their stories have been heard, they get to pass over at the end. So I mean, there's like maybe not 16, but I mean, there's quite a few stories, and you're like, oh my gosh, some of these scenarios. Be careful what you wish for.
That's cool, and it's not even that big.
Yeah.
No. So I mean, it was
When you
very
finish it, I
episodic.
would like to read it.
Yeah, I'll read it tonight.
Because we have the welcome table that we rotate out every 30 minutes. So I was able to read a good quarter of it there. And then after dinner, I was able to read, and okay, I'm going to do something else. Okay, I come back and you read another story too. Each one's maybe 10 pages.
Oh, maybe we have it on audio. Wouldn't it be cool if it were like all different?
Oh, and the different voices
like
and
this.
accents.
I'll check.
I gotta check.
Okay,
Okay,
sorry.
I'm going to talk really quickly about these two.
Okay.
I probably won't even use my whole 3 minutes. Okay, so this one is called Solo Leveling, and it was a web-based comic, and this is the first time in print.
I ordered
And, it reminds me a lot about, it reminds me a lot of like One Punch Man, where there's different ranks for the people. He is the lowest rank hunter. So people are different rank hunters, and they go into these things like called dungeons, and they go and they fight the monsters that are also ranked. Like, so this is like a C-class dungeon, so you have to be like at least a level C hunter to go in and hunt the people. So he's known as the weakest hunter of all mankind.
Oh, dear.
He's an E-rank hunter, Jin Woo-sung, and he has no choice but to keep hunting because his mom is sick, and the hospital bills, his sister's in college, he has like no job prospects of his own, so he keeps hunting. And so they go into this, I think it's like a D-rank dungeon, and there's like a bunch of hunters that all go there because after they hunt, they get coins for it. So they go in this dungeon, they hunt, they kill the monster, and then they notice that the dungeon keeps going, and there's like a big door at the end. So they all go in, they all take a vote, and this one guy like makes them all go in. So they go in, and they end up in like this giant chamber with like these like giant statues along the wall. I'm trying to find a picture of the statues. And it says, there's like this sign on the wall that says, these are the commandments. First, thou shalt worship God. Second, thou shalt praise God. Third, thou shalt prove thy faith. So they're like, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden, these like statues start like killing people. And like he figures out what each commandment means, so they can like defeat these giant statues that are like unlike any hunters ever. So it's so good. It's super, super gory. So I would say older teen, because there's actually like pictures of the goriness. So it's more than just, there's entrails, there's like cut off limbs, there's creepy faces and stuff. But it's really good, really creepy. I recommend that one. And then this one is a juvenile fiction, or no, it's YA. I guess it's YA. I thought it was juvenile fiction, called Animus by Antonio Revoy. And it was so weird. I still don't know what happened. It's about these kids. So it says, tucked away in a quiet Japanese neighborhood lies a peculiar playground. There, Hayasu and Sayori meet a masked ghost named Toothless, and one of their friends get hurt. So they have to race against the clock to solve the mystery of this kid who wears a mask. That like, there's a sandbox where if you go in the sandbox, your deepest fear attacks you, and like, they have to go and figure out why this kid is stuck here because he can't leave the playground. So they like solve this mystery, and there's like a serial killer and all these things that they have to hunt against. And it was interesting, but there was so much going on, I still don't think I got it all. So I might want to reread it again. But this one was good, so Animus and Solo Leveling.
The first one you were talking about kind of reminded me of Sword Art Online.
Yeah.
I was getting a lot of that vibe.
Yeah.
Now I got to go
It
back.
sounded really good, and the
It's
front
good.
cover, it looked beautiful. So I'm like, you know what?
I
It's volume
really-
1.
It's
Let's
gorgeous,
give it a try.
I really like the creepy illustrations. It's like super creepy.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for this month. Join us next time to see what we're reading next month. And don't forget, if you liked any of the titles that we talked about, please go ahead, put them on hold, and read.
And we'll have the pictures of all of them at each of the libraries. So if you don't
Yes.
remember what we have, come into our teen sections
And look for the
you'll see
book stacks on the walls.
stacks of our
Eventually,
books.
they will be as tall as you are.
They already are.
Yes.
I'm very small.
Bye, guys.
Bye.